there was dozens of villages that had chapels, but the Spanish tried to target certain villages that they thought were influential to have churches in them. The village of Orote was kind of a mixed bag. In the early 1670s, they didn't really like the Spanish, but then the Spanish did something which kind of set the village off, and it set off actually a lot of other villages too. And according to the story, there was a young girl who came from a high caste family in Orote, who was Catholic, who had converted, and she loved God. And so the priest in Orote wanted to marry her to a Spanish officer to kind of blend the communities together. And so she agreed. She wanted to do it, and the soldier wanted to do it. But the family of the girl didn't want. The family was anti-Spanish, and so the priest, he went in, or the father confronted the priest. He threatened him, and the Spanish decided to make an example of him, that you don't threaten the Spanish. So they came down and arrested him and took him to Hagatnya, and then they hung him. And then they had his body publicly humiliated, dragged through the streets. And at that time, one thing that really offended Chamorros was that when the Spanish would when they would burn down a village, they would take the children, and then they would give them to the priest, and Hagatnya, the priest would raise them, so that they would be free from devilish influences and stuff. And so the father's body, they gave it to the kids. And they told the kids to desecrate it. And so the kids would drag it around on a string, and they would sing songs and play with it like it was their toy. And so this offended a lot of people, and basically Orote itself blew up. And so the Spanish sent down soldiers to try and keep the church from being burnt down. When they came down here, though, they found that Chamorros from other anti-Spanish villages along the coast, such as Pidi, they were coming in to attack them. And so they actually tried to retreat to go back to Hagatnya, and they got stuck in Sumai with Chamorros on both sides of them, trying to kill them. And there was a Christian Chamorro whose name was Chelef, or Chedef. And so he came to them and he said, "Hey, I have a canoe." And they were in Sumai. He came up to Sumai. He said, "I have a canoe. I'll take you back to Hagatnya. Just everyone hop into my canoe." And so the Spanish all hopped in. But Chelef was secretly against the Spanish, but he had converted to basically be on the inside. So once they got out into deep water, he capsized his canoe. And so the Spanish, their gunpowder was useless. The ones who were wearing armor couldn't swim. And so once that happened, Chamorros from the jungle basically swam into the water and massacred all the Spanish. And then they went back and they burned down the church in Orote. And so this was, and actually that led to the second big rebellion of Chamorros. There was 3 big rebellions of Chamorros on Guam, and those events helped lead to the second big rebellion, which was led by a guy from Hagatnya called Agualin. You've heard that name before. Sure. It's hard because the names change over.
It's like ancient. Might have meant something at some point.
Agua is not an ancient Chamorro word for water.